Unless you've been living under a rock, or anywhere that is not the United States, then you will know that the 4th of May is Star Wars Day. And at my local hobby store, some gamers decided to get together and host a game day consisting of Star Wars Legion, Armada, and X-Wing, with a few extra rules to allow interaction between the three systems. Now, these matches took place on the 7th of May, and this video is coming to you even later. But hey, at least it's still May, right? So here's the premise. A single Legion, Armada, and X-Wing match would all take place at the exact same time. If someone won their match before the other two, then they would be able to send aid or support to their ally on that other system. For example, if a Legion player won their match, they could either send additional fighters to the X-Wing match or shoot an ion cannon into the Armada one. Now, I won't bother with showing you all the different rewards for winning matches, because there were just way too many of them. Players were divided and paired according to preferences in regards to faction and game system, which means that I got paired against today's opponent, Jorge Freire. And as you can guess by the title of the video, we would be playing Star Wars Armada. Now, it's been a while since I've played as the Empire in this game, as that is the faction that I got chosen for. So, I headed over to every Armada player's best friend, the Cannot Get Your Ship Out blog post forum. Picked out some ships and commander that I really wanted to use in this case, and simply filled out a list with the build recommendations that they had. So with all that clarified, let's now move on to the lists. So, as I mentioned, I got assigned the Empire, and I've never really played Darth Vader as a commander before, so he went in. Additionally, you can't have Vader without his Star Destroyer, so ISD with the Devastator title was a must. In the end, I went for a Kuat ISD with a combination of their Bunker Buster and Devastator dice host builds that you can find on their website, on the Imperial Star Destroyer article to be exact. Oh, and Admiral Ozzel as well, to get that Speed 1 maneuver before the game begins. Moving along, we have an Architon's light cruiser built as the Archibald suit build. Nothing fancy there, just broadsiding long-range ship. Kinda tanky with expert shield tech and reinforced blast doors, and classic Link turbo laser towers. I don't know why I added that last upgrade, as Vader pretty much has that covered. But past the light cruiser, we have an anti-fighter platform in a Raider 1 Corvette assembled as the Squadron Murder Machine Mark I. I'm going up against a Rebel player. Their squadrons are absolutely cracked, so I need this ship and I need it to pop off. Last but certainly not least, we got this Gazanti with CommsNet. That's it. Its job is to feed engineering tokens to the Kuat ISD for its electronic countermeasures. That's its purpose in life. Nothing more, nothing less, that's it. After that, we have some squadrons, which is pretty much just IG-88 for those pesky Rebel aces, along with Soontir Fel and Tutai Advanced. They don't have to shoot, they just have to be there so that Soontir doesn't get hosed down and dies without using his ability. So that's my list. Let's go ahead and take a look at my opponents. Alright, let's see here. An MC-80 Command Cruiser as his flagship. It only has boosted comms, redundant shields, and leading shots. An unorthodox build for sure, but let's continue. MC-75 Ordnance Cruiser. Kaken and Sholin and external racks only. Alright, I know that Akbar is a force multiplier, but I don't know, Chief. One accuracy and the ship basically gets shut down in regards to defense. Next on the list is a CR-90 Corvette A with turbo laser reroute circuits. Alright. It's a classic, really no confusion here. Last but not least, a GR-75 with comms net. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this ship is going to comms net, but it's cheap, and it plays a support role. Maybe helps out with squadrons if need be? I don't know, man. Speaking of squadrons, though, one X-Wing, one Y-Wing, an A-Wing, and the new Harrison Dula in her X-Wing. A kind of flexible composition. It can either take on fighters or ships as need be. No doubts here. Either, although his squads are on the slower side. At only speed 3, most of them anyways, you know, the A-Wing is speed 5, but the A-Wing is not going to do anything on its own. So, you may be wondering, what is up with the list? And don't worry, I'm confused to the 41st millennium and back as well. I commented on his fleet composition and choices, to which he replied that, due to not playing in a long time, he wanted to keep things simple. Not only that, but usually when you overload a ship with upgrades, you tend to forget to use some of them. Which, you know what? Fair enough. It happens to me every now and then as well, so respect, or whatever. His large ships can absolutely take on my Black Dice Brawler ISD, especially if I find myself in range of both during a turn, despite the lack of upgrades. Not only that, but his CR-90 is perfectly capable of hunting down either my Corvette, a light cruiser, or flotilla without any issues. The odds are stacked against him when just looking at the lists, but remember, skills also play a part. Oh wow, there's more. With me being the player with less points between the both of us, I decided to be second player, because his objectives would have screwed me over. So he ended up settling on Fleet Ambush, and you know what? That works for me. My ISD wants to be closer to you anyways. I'll go ahead and give you a wide angle on deployment. Hopefully you can see without any issues. So let's go ahead and see here.
Bueno, voy a despegar la corbeta.
Ajá. El Architens, voy a poner aquí. Me pregunto si... Ok, no, pero nos vamos a poder disparar. Quiero ir aquí, así como tal. Y sí, tienen que hacer todas las naves.
Velocidad 2.
Porque va a pensar que lo van a dejar igual. No sé.
Yo voy a ir con este compadre. Un poco más atrás. Y él va a ir a velocidad 2 igual.
¿Qué pasó?
Sí, güey. Sí, la vez pasada los despandeamos, ¿te acuerdas?
Velocidad 1.
Voy con el Rider. Vámonos aquí. Y él va a ir a velocidad.
También tiene un objetivo y creo que me falta el escudito. Un escudito, pero bueno, bien.
Sí. Velocidad 2.
Velocidad 2, hermano.
Sí.
Entonces voy con el destructor imperial aquí.
Acuérdate, Freire, it's not a trap. There's a trap there with you.
Así es. Ah, bueno, ¿verdad?
Y todos mis tokens.
Para que sepas que es un ratio. Para que no se me hace.
Bueno, que se me mezcle con
Los tres.
¿Cuáles eran? Los
Escoge tres.
Y es un Defender Elite. Entonces ya no tengo las habilidades de la pirueta que no me cuesta, pero baja la dificultad de las puertas cerradas.
Tiramos dados para ver quién empieza. ¿Escudos o blancos?
escudos.
Blancos.
Ahí está.
Entonces yo empiezo quitando. Ok, bueno.
So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move into the first round. See what awaits. Alright, first round, and I'll only leave the important bits in. That being the MC-75 moving up at speed 3 to keep the Kuat Star Destroyer from getting in the front arc. The CR-90 shooting my Raider and dropping its shields, only to land in medium range of my Architects. Now, here the dice were rolled out of frame, so here they are. A crit, a hit, and a double that he evaded into an accuracy. A simple redirect and he only lost 2 points of shields. Now with the squadron phase, I positioned the ties alongside the Gazanti in order to tie up the rebel wings. And since IG-88 has Rogue, I opted to pick at the CR-90 in an attempt to lower its shields even further and see if the Architects could perhaps cripple it next turn. The first round saw a bit of shooting, a bit of positioning, so let's move on to the second round. We can see here that Freda decided to activate the CR-90 first. As he's at mid-range now, a blue die can be added to the pool when he gathers dice meant for the Architects.
Sí. Hits, te voy a bloquear el evade.
My light cruiser's evade got locked down, so I had to use a redirect and burn shields in order to avoid much hull damage. I still ended up taking 1 pip of it. And so it went after my Gazanti, which is a good strategy, if he were going at speed 4. As we can see here, he's only going at speed 3, which is the exact same speed as my Gazanti. That means at this rate, he's never going to reach it. But anyways, moving on, my Kuat Star Destroyer is next. Now, I'm in his side arc at long range, and getting in close to an MC-75 is not ideal, but I need to stop him from slipping away.
Tengo Vader, me voy a gastar mi Contain
Con un token de bombardeo.
para volver a tirar estos dos.
El token de bombardeo, nomás para
Ok,
repasar.
son 3 a tu arco frontal.
Mi arco frontal.
Haces lo que tú quieras y lo tiras. Y haz de cuenta es un agarrar y la puedes cancelar.
Okay.
Now, after the pot shots from my front and my side arc, I went ahead and planted myself directly in front of his ship,
Para que no te escape.
escaping his side arc and giving him little options in regards to movement. Though the fact of the matter is that he still goes first, so he may still have the possibility of getting away next turn. He then decides to get this altercation out of the way and see what he can still do. Some chip damage and me burning my tokens to proc Devastator later.
Creo que ibas a chocar.
Sí, pero pues no tengo otra opción. Vamos a chocar, sí.
¿Seguro?
Vamos a ver.
¿Ves? Sí llega. Estar fuerte es el siguiente turno. Voy yo. Voy pollo. Voy a darle con el...
Moving on, my Gazanti is up, activating 2 fighters, that being Suntir Fel and an advanced TIE fighter to go mess with the rebel squads.
Aquí. Y a Suntir lo voy a mover acá.
Unfortunately, they aren't able to take down the Y-Wing between the two of them. Their purpose is mainly to stall for time, stall that whole ball.
Pero todavía no hay ninguna victoria, Emiliano, ¿qué rollo?
¿Qué?
La canción.
Ah, pues es que va.
Freda then chooses to go with his flagship, the MC-80, to try and free up his squadrons, activating them, essentially. Unfortunately, as my luck would have it, it can hang in there, deal that juicy chip damage with Suntir.
Sí, y ahorita van a sufrir uno de daño. ¿Sufre uno más?
Voy yo primero.
¿Por?
Creo que quiero.
No, yo. Sacaste un hit, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Déjame checar su rápido.
Luego voy a activar a
Bien rápido. Suntir Fel le va a reducir la vida por uno aquí y por uno aquí. Es así, perdón.
Entonces tengo que mover al X-Wing de manera que esté engaged con este güey,
Pero no con el otro.
pero no con Suntir Fel.
O puedes,
Dañado es que tenga.
Dos, sí, voy a rolear este.
si sale uno más, ¿está muerto? No, está uno de vida.
Está uno de vida. Entonces,
In the end, only the escort tie goes down, with the combined might of his wings.
Sale, vale, cae.
Here, however, is where we see a disadvantage in his formation. The MC-80 is not fast enough to catch up with the MC-75, leaving it all alone to deal with the Star Destroyer.
Voy a activar el Architans. Un ataque
No.
de mi...
It's the Architan's turn, still at long range, but a concentrate fire command will net me 4 red dice.
Al parecer no.
You won't be able to see my roll, but I managed to push a crit through,
de daño. ¿Cuánto tengo de escudos?
Uno.
Entonces va uno de escudo.
Entonces le puedes dar.
and land on the asteroid myself. Unfortunately, but honestly, just look at the table. The only one getting back in the fight at this point is that Raider, thanks to its capacity for speed 4.
Tiene. Tengo una presenta su flag que era azul.
Es negro.
Going on past that, we see a little bit of movement from the GR-75, displacing his squadrons to the point in which I can place them all in advantageous positions. Well, advantageous for me, of course.
¿Dónde poner?
Sí, Hera es esta, ¿verdad? Vamos a ponerte a este güey aquí,
Ok.
para ahorita moverlo y amarrarte todo. Pero vamos a poner a Hera acá, para...
Last but certainly not least, we got that Raider boosting up to speed 3, or 4,
Sí,
I think.
está bien.
And my fighters really won't last long now, so he really needs to go ahead and get in there.
Y fase de escuadrones, ¿verdad?
Así es.
Vas a agarrar dos.
Perfecto.
Yo ya activé mis escuadrones, entonces.
¿Van los míos? Vamos
Moving
a
on to the
aventarlo ahí
squadron
para amarrarte
phase,
todo otra vez.
and only I have some squadrons pending for activation. So the TIE will go ahead and provide escort to Suntir again,
Sí.
and IG-88 will go after Hera, like the good bounty hunter that he is. Except the roll whiffed, and he dealt no damage whatsoever.
X, me vas a forzar a
Ballin'.
rolear este, ¿verdad?
But at what cost?
Así es.
Oh, don't answer that previous question. Let me just show you by getting right into it. So the MC-75 will go first, for obvious reasons.
Pues todo al lado.
You don't want to be stuck in the front arc at close range of a brawler
Lo tienes
ISD.
en rango acá,
Tienes uno
a la
de
nave de
cuatro,
soporte.
es el mortero.
Es que me la estoy pensando. Aquí la decisión que tengo que tomar es si uso a Akbar o no. Que según yo tengo que, porque no tengo en mi arco frontal.
¿Ok?
Sí, no, ni de chiste.
Entonces, a huevo, va a ser solo un ataque, pero va a ser a frente.
Mira, sí.
Los negros.
Sí, ves, ves cobertura pesada, supongo.
Look at that. Not a bad roll, if I do say so myself. Now, Kaitkin and Sholin will come in handy for Freda, and that one accuracy locks down my brace.
Voy a gastarme
¿Vas a apuntar?
a Caitlyn a Sholan para rolear estos dos.
Sí, cáile.
Va el mortero, que son 3 blancos.
Ok,
O todavía más.
ok. Tengo a Point Defense Ion Cannons.
Ajá.
Reroleame uno rojo, porfa. El doble, uno de los dos.
Kind of bad for me. But I have point defense ion cannons, making that double into a null. And electronic countermeasures makes that accuracy useless as well. Hell yeah, baby. The only thing left to do is burn my defense tokens like there's to no tomorrow. I paid for that Devastator title, I'm gonna use the entirety of that Devastator title.
Voy a velocidad 2.
Una muy buena tirada, ¿sabes? Eso fue un chingo de daño, me asusté por un momento.
Yo también.
Pero me sentía calmado al mismo tiempo.
Sí, fue.
Si quieres poner, aquí cabe la regla.
Es que.
Now, after that, we have to see where the MC-75 is going to end up with its movement, as it's only going at speed 2 now. And it looks like Freire wishes to keep me in the side arc. Oh. Well, he's in a double arc now. I don't think he's getting out of this unscathed. But with that activation done, there's really no need to rush things. Because if my Star Destroyer were to go next, it would really only end up in range of the MC-80, and as much as I love throwing out extra dice, the damage really may not be worth it. So I'll go on ahead with my Archidons. It's in no danger whatsoever anyways. May as well burn activations.
Y vamos a hacer esto para quitarnos del asteroide y para irnos, pues, aclimatando, ¿verdad? Muchas gracias. ¿Vas tú otra vez?
After that, he goes on ahead and decides to activate the CR-90, which is barely in range of my light cruiser.
Tengo 1 y 2 de aqua.
Sí. Si tienes TRCs, Turbo Laser Reroute. ¿Lo quieres usar? Lo puedes usar, de hecho, ahora que lo pienso bien. Nada te va a amenazar. Este güey
Lo voy a usar y lo cambio a un doble.
Ok.
Entonces son 3.
Es largo, voy a quemar el evade para quitarte ese. Y voy a quemar un redirigir.
So, a pot shot sees my shields drop, but really not much else.
A velocidad.
Voy a velocidad 3.
When it comes to the movement, though, he chooses to still send it after my Gozanti, even though he will not reach it. A weird choice in my opinion, but it also already has 2 damage cards out of 4, so kinda understandable. My turn, and the Gozanti is up. Sends out an engineering token to refresh the electronic countermeasures on the Star Destroyer, and moves out at speed 3. This fellow is unfortunately now in range of the MC-80, but, I mean, it's only in the front arc, and he has a scatter and an evade token. That ought to be enough to keep him alive.
Ahí está.
Se posicionó bien para bloquearme
En efecto. Vas.
Okay.
Now, seeing my flotilla move into such a position, he chooses to activate the flagship and gives himself long range to said ship. Nothing really comes of it. As I said previously, I have a scatter, I have an evade, I'm at long range, the flotilla will be fine, but he can also flak my squadrons. Just a bit of chip damage, nothing more, but it's something, you know?
Se estira el rojo, crítico.
Sí, ahí sí estás a corta.
Sí, a corta. A este güey lo alcanzo nada más con medio, ¿verdad?
Sí, con azul. Cáele.
Nada. Luego a esa talla advance. 1.
Ajá. 2 de daño. Y dale a Suntir. Déjale cuenta.
Y a Suntir Fer. 2 de daño también.
Scatter.
Voy a quitar tantito a estos dos güeyes.
Ajá.
Rango 4. Sí, acá sí. Es como está boca abajo, güey, lo único que vas a poder hacer es el mortero, que son 3 dados blancos. Y dispara o se mueve.
With the biggest threats on the table activated, in comes my raider at speed 4 and manages to finally catch up to the squadrons. Well, just Hera, but it's something, you know? It's only turn 3, half the match yet to go. So these squadrons are going to get toasted.
Ahí está. Y ahí. Listo. ¡Woo! Adiós, Hera, el siguiente turno. Y va tu GR-76.
Ok, entonces sacó el comando de, de escuadrón. Sí lo voy a usar. Voy a activar a las dos X-Wings.
Ok.
Entonces primero va el ataque de Hera contra IG.
His GR-75 then chooses to both flak and activate squadrons, that being Hera and the X-Wing.
Tengo de turno, voy a rerolear este.
Sí,
Para ver si, si sale el Express.
Ajá. 1, 2. Ahí está. Va el X-Wing acá.
X-Wing va a atacar allá.
De una vez te voy a quitar el 1 de vida con el X-Wing, es un tir. Dale, dale.
Son 4. Ah, no, no está distancia, no hay.
Oh, la madre. O sea, queda vivo con 1 de vida.
Queda vivo con 1 de vida y voy a flaquear con el GR.
El arco frontal y el arco lateral o algo así.
Así es.
Calla.
Entonces, primero contra este güey.
De una vez le voy a hacer scatter, porque es lo último que te queda, ¿verdad?
Pero ya usaste el scatter, ¿no?
No, me lo bloqueaste, acuérdate. Te salió el accuracy.
Ah, sí, cierto, sí, cierto.
Entonces,
Entonces, una persona de ahí. Y contra ese güey.
contra. Ajá. TIE Advance, muerto. Contra Suntir.
Y contra Suntir.
Y no mames.
Un daño.
¿Se siente ya todo?
A la madre. Quítale 1 de vida, por favor. A 2. Oh no. Muy bien.
Movement of a flotilla then sees the thing plow through the ball of fighters, but really only stepping on the A-Wing, allowing me to give Suntir a fighting chance before he dies.
¿Sí, verdad?
Sí, voy a atropellar al A-Wing.
Ok.
Pero nada más al A-Wing.
Bueno, lo voy a sacar de engagement para que se pueda mover pero no atacar ahorita.
And finally, it's time for the main course. A Kuat Star Destroyer at close range with an enemy in double arc. Vader out here helping me spend those pesky defense tokens that I hopefully won't need later on. And boarding troopers out here spending the enemy's defense tokens. Though with the front arc shock, I don't think I needed to use boarding troopers on this ship.
Para rerolear este. Ok. Te voy a bloquear el redirigir.
Ok.
Y el dado negro voy a decidir utilizar el efecto crítico de Assault Concussion Missiles.
Ok, bueno. Uso el contain para que no entre el crítico.
No, no te puedes gastar el contain.
Ok.
Porque el crítico que estoy utilizando es de Assault Concussion Missiles, el cual ya me gasté, entonces no va a entrar en el arco frontal ahorita otra vez. Y es un crítico especial.
Ok.
Acuérdate que necesitas el oficial que te deja cancelar críticos con tu
Bueno,
contain.
entonces son...
Te falta por activar, la verdad.
Y el redirigir es el que te bloquea.
Sí.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Bueno,
Comandos, es este.
pues no, pues luego entonces me como los... Es aquí, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Son 2. Y me como...
2 tarjetas de daño normal. Pero adicionalmente le vas a tragar uno enfrente y otro atrás de Assault Concussion Missiles. Para Vader.
¿Ya? Es un Surge.
¡Oh, la madre! Salió todo.
Y pues me das una.
Now, if you can count that, it's 9 damage with 2 accuracies,
Te voy a
leaving that
bloquear
MC-75 with
1, 2,
absolutely
3, 4, 5,
no way to
6,
defend.
7, 8, 9. Te maté.
And it was already wounded.
No puedo quemarme esta madre.
Te los bloqueé,
Está
te los bloqueé.
Está contenido.
Sí, y aunque lo contengas.
Sí.
Bruh. No mames, no estaba esperando que salieran todo resultado.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8, 9. Mira esto.
8, 9 y se murió.
9 de daño nada más con esto. El hull que tiene la nave. Ya tenía 2 tarjetas de daño
Tenía dos
adicional.
tarjetas de daño.
Ya.
Y sí, con los 2 accuracy, pues no puedo usar, no puedo quemar estos.
Ok.
Ya. Ya.
¿Sí?
Look at that. I mean, just like that, 2 turns of shooting saw a whole Mon Calamari cruiser eviscerated, while my paint is barely scratched.
Entonces vamos a hacer.
And we managed to get into close range of the next target.
No me puedes doblarquear, pero.
Por un
No importa porque
de
tienes
ellas,
Aqua.
Le puedo dejar los dodges.
Y seguimos
a
estando a
unidades
corto,
core
¿verdad?
que están a distancia 1 o 2 de mí.
Sí.
Entonces se lo voy a dejar a estos troopers y se lo voy a dejar a estos troopers. Pero todo lo demás.
Tienes brace y tienes scatter, entonces son 2.
Lo voy a escaterear.
Ajá.
Ya descartado. Counter.
Y esta caja.
1 se muere. Y tienes que.
Sí, voy a engage otra vez con
¿Sontir?
Sontir.
Ok. Como quiera, no puedo atacar a Leywing por el escolta del X-Wing.
Sí.
De daño al X-Wing.
2 de daño. Quedan 2.
Y sigue IG-88.
Digo, por teamwork con Han Solo le voy a dar un dodge.
Uno de estos, ¿verdad?
Sí, entonces lo reroleas.
En efecto, ahí voy. Deja acomodo la cámara.
1 de daño. 5.
Y.
Turn 4, and with one whole large ship out of the equation, the rounds are only going to go by much faster. But Freire is first player, and he is going to waste no time activating the MC-80 before I get a chance to do anything. Now, he's got 2 ships in both side arcs, and the radar is the one in trouble here. However, he gave the ship a squadron command, so that comes first.
Sí, es una acción gratis. Sí, sí, o sea,
No tiene adept ni nada por el estilo, ¿verdad?
No tiene. Entonces no son 2 que puede ser los que.
Counter 2.
Sí, es lo malo. Es darle una. O sea, cuando.
Y queda matar Suntir Fel.
Sí. Voy a entonces primero atacar con la X-Wing.
Ajá, cállate.
Son 4.
Con que saques 3 de daño lo matas.
Puedes
3 de daño.
y darle una orden.
Entonces, no importa, está muerto. Porque aunque tenga el brace,
Lo
vale.
bajas a 2.
Y tiene 2 de vida.
2 de vida. Se muere.
Tiene counter 2. 1 de daño más.
Queda a 1 de vida este güey.
¿Por qué?
He finally gets rid of Suntir Fel, at last, although it could be a bit late for the squadrons to come into play, in my opinion.
Aparte de lo que
A
voy a
la
hacer,
madre. ¿No defiende o qué?
Defiende con 2 dados.
Ya, sí.
Y es iniciativa 3. Tampoco no es tan poderoso.
Sí, está difícil.
Está chido ese cotorreo.
Gracias, sí.
Está perfecto para este tipo de cosas.
Es precisamente lo que estoy haciendo, sí.
Ya diste aim, diste
Este
1,
es
2, 3 aim.
Destruí el MC-75 en una ronda de disparo nada más. Doble arco,
Sí, güey.
se murió.
Es que tiró 9 dados y todos pegaron.
No, tiré 10 dados, creo. Y los 10, o sea, 2 accuracies y el resto puro daño. Le bloqueé los 2 tokens de defensa que utiliza esa cosa y adiós.
Tienes precise.
Estuvo muy feo. Ok, va.
Ajá.
Ataca allí.
Cállate. Voy a tener counter. El accuracy, 2 de daño, redúcelo a 1 de vida, porfa.
Tienes surge a crítico.
Y tengo counter con él.
Pues van a entrar
2 de daño a Leywing.
Hoy quedan uno.
Sí.
Ok, bueno.
Este lo puedes mover porque disparó y cuando activas una nave puede o disparar y moverse o moverse y dispararse. Disparar.
No importa.
Ah, bueno.
Entonces si quieres lo puedes aventar ahí también.
O sea, si defienden los dos.
¿Quieres hacer eso? Puede activar el Rider y flaquearlo todo a la muerte.
Entran 2 heridas de huevo.
Tienes razón. Bueno, lo voy a mover entonces.
O sea, lo puedes poner acá, nada más dispara 2 negros.
Entran 2, entran. Ahí está.
La fuerza trabaja en manera fastidiosa.
Ahí está. Y bueno, 5.
Here come the volleys.
A la madre.
First up is the Kuat Star Destroyer with only 2 defense tokens left. A good roll on my opponent's part.
Usas brace.
But that electronic countermeasures and point defense ion cannons are coming in clutch. Raider, on the other hand, is not having so much luck.
Tiene un escudo.
A crit and a damage managed to be pushed through to the hull itself.
La primera boca arriba.
Todo blanco, así que voy a rolear uno.
Ok, el último es esto. Me muevo menos.
The yaw value for the adjustable amount of your speed is record. Ok.
Roleo uno por el condado. Ok.
Entonces ahí queda eso y ahora si quieres vamos
Y
a
ahora
ver
sí, van
el gran
igual,
clon.
3,
Se va
2 de Akbar, más 3.
Ajá, y tienes leading shots, ¿verdad?
Tengo leading shots, ajá.
Y defiende 6. Y tiene piercing.
Bueno, tengo un solo escudo al frente. Kyle. Tengo nada más dos toques. Entonces, son 6 en total. ¿Me puedo quedar sin escudos o puedo nada más? No, me voy a gastar el brace.
Ok.
Y entran
Entran 3.
Quítame un escudo y déjame pongo 2 tarjetas.
¿Y atacaste el Architect?
Ya.
Sí, está.
Digo, el Raider, perdón.
Ya,
el Raider.
lo dejó con 2 de vida. Y voy yo, ¿verdad?
Sí, vas tú.
No, falta tu movimiento.
Ah, sí, es cierto. Voy a velocidad 2. Pues voy a terminar.
Let's see here. Movement time, and he gets denied with the flotilla. There will be no escape this time, Fishman. Though the Gazanti does take a card of damage. With my opponent's biggest threat on the table activated, I can now take my sweet time positioning with the rest of the fleet before the Kuat Star Destroyer's turn. So in comes the Raider. He'll flak Hera, as she is the only squadron in range, before seeking a better position away from the side arc of that MC-80. For clarification, the Raider had a maneuver command.
Más 1 porque tengo agente. Y después voy a utilizar Impetus para 1 de daño. ¿Usas Dodge?
Uso Dodge, ajá, revolverlo por favor.
1 de daño otra vez. 1 de vida, ¿verdad?
2.
Ah, sí, cierto. Ok. Entonces, lo que quiero.
Es una granadas, ese tiene blast.
Pero voy a quedar en doble arco si hago eso.
No, podría ser algo acá.
No, pero la base acuérdate que se pone hacia atrás.
Ah, sí.
Entonces me voy a quedar a velocidad 4 de hecho. Me voy aquí y dejarlo recto acá.
Ok.
Y pónmelo ahí en el 4. Ahí menos, está excelente.
Nada más me muevo, velocidad.
Next up is the GR-75. It just moves and gives a token, a command token, to the MC-80.
Y que va a ser target lock a.
Oh, bueno, no. Me voy a mover nada más.
¿Por qué no puedes chocar a los rosantes?
Sí lo puede chocar, el
Pero
también sufre daño.
las flotilas no.
As there is no rush to get things done, I go ahead with my Gazanti and throw 2 dice into his front arc, dealing 2 pips of damage in total.
Salvo.
Lo redirijo a este lado.
Ok. Y segundo ataque, otro
Le
golpe.
diste orden boca arriba. ¿Qué le
Sí,
diste
sus
orden boca
libros son
arriba?
frente.
A los vehículos de allá. Por.
Ahí ganaban un search. O sea, ponle un search acá.
Ok.
Ponle, ahí está.
Voy a mover las tarjetas.
Sí.
acá.
Dentro de esos.
Yo.
No me quité el mono.
Tiene que ir recto,
Ah, no,
entonces.
porque no le mataste a nadie. Los defendió. Aquí es donde.
A la madre. Creo que porque ahorita lo voy a chocar con mi destructor.
Reparar.
¿Quieres un escudo adicional, supongo yo?
Así es.
Arco
The
frontal.
CR-90 is next, recovering shields, but only moving towards the ISD. Still too far to lend aid.
Es lo que quiero hacer justamente. A ver, entonces esta madre se mueve 1, 2, 3. Va a quedar
Un poco corto.
aquí.
Le vas a tener que reducir la velocidad y encontrar una maniobra porque tiene que aterrizar encima de la estación para quitarse el daño.
Sí.
¿Bailar Arquitans?
Architans is next, just jumping forwards at speed 3.
Pues una línea recta.
It's still not in range of anything.
La batalla otra vez.
como para el papel, como para el lodge.
¿Cómo?
Para que se pueda
Para convertir los surges.
Muy bien. Va el destructor imperial.
Last, but certainly not least, is the Imperial Star Destroyer. No double arc this time, but I'm still at close range.
Voy a traer los
2 accuracies can really put the hurt on this ship with no ECMs. I apologize for not showing dice results here, so I'll tell you what they were. 3 accuracies and a total of 8 damage. Using the critical on a black die to trigger assault concussion missiles and drain shields on his front and rear arc. That is half his health just evaporated.
y sigue su movimiento. Va a velocidad 2. Puedo hacer esto.
Now, unfortunately, I do bump into my Gazanti flotilla, dealing another card of damage to it. But next turn, that MC-80 is going to maneuver right into a double arc. It has no other choice unless a maneuver command was prepared. And even then, one more good roll from the front arc and it's gone. Now at this point, the X-Wing players have finished their match, and the victor, that being the Rebel player, has decided to lend his aid in Star Wars Armada.
Ganaste.
What happens here is that Vader gets to bring in 25 points of generic squadrons into the match. In hindsight, this isn't enough to sway the tide in his favor. So if an event like this ever gets hosted again, I'm definitely upping the rewards. Yes, I was one of the 2 organizers for this event.
Entonces entran ya activados y va el... Ese
Ya
es-
activé mis escuadrones.
Sí, falta mi IG.
That clarified, IG-88 is activated and shot down the last X-Wing squadron.
Muy bien. Entonces, bueno, pues sí,
All right.
vamos a activarlo.
Well, we're coming up on the 5th round of the game, and I strongly believe that there won't be a 6th.
Y se dispara.
Freire goes with the MC-80 first, a desperate attempt to push a crit through to the Imperial Star Destroyer that will benefit him.
Si no te la vas a
But
pegar.
first, Squadron Pusher.
Un accuracy.
Alright, AG-88 is now dead, and the A-Wing is going to try and help push more damage through.
Sí, porque aquí más reales.
Some shield recovery from redundant shields upgrade and the token, but now, it's time for the salvo.
Y luego disparas normal, o sea, con los 5 soldados, que son 5 dados negros, más la pesada. Pero te tienes que mover.
Ok.
Fíjate ahí lo que dice.
Tienes leading shots, entonces te puedes gastar uno de esos accuracies.
I gotta be honest, Chief,
Rerolear.
that don't look particularly good.
Porque nada más tienes 2 tokens de defensa, ¿verdad?
Correcto.
Ok, bueno, sí. Voy a rerolear este.
Date, date.
Otro hit. Entonces son 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Voy a utilizar Point Defense Ion Cannons.
Not even a crit. Oh, right, point defense ion cannons. Okay, there's the crit.
Ok, un crítico.
Crítico.
I'm gonna go ahead and use electronic countermeasures to reduce the incoming damage.
Otra.
And the crit I got was life support system failure. I cannot hold command tokens anymore.
Un crítico. De huevos.
Now, I don't believe that will be an issue.
El comandante.
And look at that, just as I said, landed exactly in the double arc. Not at close range with the side arc, but honestly,
Sí.
not like I'll be needing it if my luck holds up.
Acá de lado estamos en medio.
Laterales medio.
I get the Gazanti out of the way, but other than that, the rest of the activations are kind of meaningless at this point, so let me just go ahead and get straight to it. Side arc will do some chip damage, but the main point of that is to help me discard another defense token to add another blue dye to my front arc.
Y ahí está medio.
Y ahora sí que. Vamos a. Ningún accuracy. Eso no está bien. Vamos a gastarnos para rodear estos dos y todos los azules.
Entonces es un daño. Y dos supresiones.
Uf, nada más un accuracy.
No, ¿sabes?
Lo voy a utilizar para bloquear tu brace.
No puedo saltar.
Y voy a utilizar el crítico negro para Assault Concussion Missiles para que sufras uno de
11 total damage. Yeah, no, that ship is gone. And with my match 1, it was time to send support over to the Legion player, which is pretty much just an immediate use of the orbital bombardment card of the CIS, of the Separatists. And again, in hindsight, it would have been better to do something more worthwhile. But oh well.
There you have it. In any case, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, even if a little bit or certain sections. And I hope to see you next time, whether it be in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, or in a galaxy far, far away. Thank you. Goodbye, and have a great day.